Got dropped into a ghost story, still gotta work.
Chapter 201. Baek Deoksu's head jerked up. Just now a tremendous crash had sounded behind him. Maybe something even worse was happening in the village. Fuck, is this the time to be thinking about that? Gritting his teeth, he forced himself to keep moving. He had to get as far away as possible, as quickly as possible. Hook! On Baek Deoksu's back as he ran down the mountain path was a huge backpack, packed with water, food, and survival gear he'd agonized over selecting. It was all stuff he'd collected and hidden in a secret place, planning to use it one day if he ever had to make a desperate escape from the village. He could hardly believe he was finally getting to use it. But now, in the empty space that had once been left in the backpack, there were remains. The bones left behind after the traditional band had collapsed and vanished. Among them, the bones that had once been his older sister. He should have left them behind. They were too heavy to carry. He knew it was a stupid thing to do, but he just couldn't bring himself to abandon them on the ground now. That was the only thing that occupied his mind. I wish everyone would just die. It would almost be better this way. The villagers, the outsiders who'd come to the village, even the agents who failed to rescue him. He wished they would all die, and this damned village would disappear without a trace. Just imagining it sent a tingling thrill up his spine. But, still that agent, the young agent with glasses who he had maneuvered into drawing the special prize. Surprisingly calm, never mocking or getting angry at him even once. Someone who, even after helping him, never demanded anything in return. And in the end kept his promise. The promise that both of them would survive. That he wouldn't betray him. A strange feeling stirred inside him. It was probably a sensation he was experiencing for the first time in his life. That peculiar feeling you get when you do something good, something you normally would never do and succeed purely by chance. People called it a sense of fulfillment. That must have been why, on impulse, he left behind the paper boat. Of course, it would only matter if that agent survived to the end and found it. I'll think about it if he picks it up. Considering all the chaos earlier with the centipede, the ceremonial blade, all that madness, that guy could very well be dead by now. Just then, a bizarre, hair-raising pressure gripped the back of his neck, sending chills down his spine. Something was behind him. There was no doubt that something even stranger was happening in the village. Fuck. In the end, Baek Deoksu couldn't resist. He glanced back. And his face went pale as a sheet, and he broke into a run along the mountain path once more. He never looked back again. Fucking hell. The scene he'd just glimpsed. Crimson blood was pouring down from the sky. I collapsed to the ground. It happened automatically. I fell forward, both hands pressed to the earth. As if bowing. Let me see, let me see. Let me see. Thud, thud. Red blood poured onto my head and the backs of my hands. Wretched beast plague, ancient fox spirit. A pain hot enough to make me scream suddenly flared in one hand. My left hand, the one that hadn't been severed. I feel like I'm going to die. It reeks of rot. I clawed at the ground with my hand. Agent Grapes. I could hear Agent Bronze and Agent Choi bickering. Isn't that the great tiger general of Dicheng Bongwon? Are you crazy? Summoning a supernatural entity that's not even friendly to humans. Later, just be quiet for now. I stifled my groans and hastily turned my head to the side. Director Ho, in the shape of Assistant Manager Yoon Hei. Filthy base creature. Let's see your true form. Was smiling in the rain of blood. These people are my acquaintances. Elder, you need not concern yourself. Please go on your way. Blisters bubbled up on the back of one of my hands. Your tail, I see. These people are my acquaintances. Elder, please shout your greetings from beyond the threshold. The blisters burst and pus oozed out, marks of contagion. Your tail has been cut. These people are my acquaintances. Elder, why don't you sit on the porch and have a meal? The pus burst and trickled down. Sly-tongued fiend. Assistant Manager Yoon Hei's body floated into the air. Her limbs twisted and contorted, as if bound by brute force, but her gentle smile did not change. End. SHH. Agent Choi pressed down on my shoulder. Die. Lightning strikes. Burn to ashes. Leave only your hide behind. I don't want to though. Through the flashes of lightning, Director Ho's face appeared. Leaving only your hide after death, huh? That's what tigers do. I really don't know what you're talking about. He was still smiling. They say a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, how frightening, but I'm no fox spirit. Is there any proof that I'm a fox or a ghost? How about this? Begone, evil spirit. Namu Amida Bulquensium Bozal Jupjupi Ariang, thy kingdom come, Father God. I'll even sprinkle salt and red beans. Lightning struck again. But it's not working. A tearing sound. What a shame, it seems you've made a mistake. How unfortunate. A calm voice came from the one suspended in midair. You can't burn me. A giant eye appeared amid the blood raining down from the sky. Noisy thing. Director Ho's limbs twisted. Festering for so long. Oh, how foul you are. Begone at once. My. Grasp your tail. And flee. How vicious of you, forcibly tearing me and my acquaintance apart like this. That smiling face turned to look at me. What a pity, solium nim. And in the next moment, he's gone. The body of Assistant Manager Yoon Hage, twisted unnaturally and suspended in midair, vanished as if it had never existed. And with it Director Ho, who had possessed her. Did he run away? I started to speculate in confusion. Just how was he controlling Assistant Manager Yoon Hage? What kind of binding had been placed on her? Was she all right now? At the same time, I looked up at the sky. The falling blood had stopped. I looked down at the back of my hand again. The blisters and pus had all disappeared, as if they'd been washed away by the blood. I have torn away the filth, as promised. No, General, didn't you say you'd make him grovel and pay his respects? But he ran off so easily. Noisy brat. Agent Choi's throat was seized, and he was lifted into the air. Agent... I hastily looked up at the sky and shouted. I'm sorry and thank you. A child who knows manners. From the sky, something looked down at me. Good. It inspected me. And proclaimed one thing. Serve me. Wait. Bow before me. I grant you permission. Something pressed heavily on my shoulders and back. That won't do. Agent Choi raised his arm. There's already someone being served here. See, the Goblin Elder. At the end of his arm, the Elder's goblin lantern swayed. Now that your procession is over, you should enjoy a grand feast. Please return before the food gets cold, Tiger General. Cheeky thing. There was a sound like a feline beast snorting. The feast I was promised. Prepare it. And then, everything fell silent. The blood that had rained from the sky, the crashing lightning, all vanished as if it had been a lie. Who? With a deep sigh, all three agents collapsed on the spot. Barely managing, I opened my mouth. That entity. Ah, the Dichingbong Mountain Guardian, the Tiger General King Bodhisattva. It's a bit complicated, but you can just think of him that way. He likes to be called that. At that moment, I realized exactly what kind of ghost story this was. Dichingbong Tiger General. This entity originates from the Bikadiesel, or the great killing spirit of a white tiger. It is an aspect of the four pillars of destiny associated with great misfortune and disaster, specifically relating to the Hyonsel, which signifies punishment, bloodshed, and calamity. The Dichingbong Tiger General is a ghost story derived from these concepts. However, at the Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau, it was observed that, in cases where a person's four pillars contains this aspect, and they are engaged in professions involving blades, blood, or punishment, the effect can be advantageous rather than harmful. Based on this observation, a method was developed to utilize this ghost story to absorb misfortune or bad luck. For further details, refer to relevant exploration records here. And that meant, first, one must ascend to Dichingbong Peak of Seoraksan, bearing the offering entirely by one's own strength. Agent Choi had done that. I struggled not to ask about it, and with difficulty changed the subject. But according to Agent Bronze, it didn't seem to be a phenomenon friendly toward humans. Oh, that? Agent Choi shrugged. Technically speaking, it just doesn't care. If you prepare a feast with sincerity, it'll grant your wish if it's in a good mood. That the feast accepts even a human as an offering is the real problem here. Agent Bronze's eyes flashed. Agent Choi gave a faint smile. The Bureau is handling it all carefully. The General's been living a vegan lifestyle these days. And then in the next instant, Agent Choi's gaze immediately turned to me. No, more precisely, to the back of my hand, which had been cleansed by the blood rain. He tried to act casual, but I could see the tension in his eyes. It's really gone, right? Agent Bronze's eyes also fixed on the back of my hand. After what they'd just seen, it would be easy to guess that the being who had possessed Assistant Manager Yoon Hae's body might have left some kind of curse or misfortune on me. Agent Grapes, just what the... We'll talk in detail when we get back. For now, let's just confirm it, Grapes I say anything. I hesitated, then opened my mouth. I am Ro, dear. I could say it. With no resistance at all. It worked. It worked. The binding was broken. Holy shit. In a daze, I stared at the back of my hand. And just then, from outside the village, the sound of a bicycle bell began to ring. Here comes the Vermilion Bird Unit. Like a signal that things were wrapping up. There's still a lot that's suspicious about this Jisan village, so from here they'll begin a full-scale investigation. They'll search for people, the well too. Agent Choi tapped the ground beside the well, speaking cheerfully. There could still be other anomalies, but for now, not likely. Let's just head back today. Yes. A strange sense of relief started to spread through my chest. Right, the binding was finally gone. No more dying within a month, I was free. Wait. What a pity, Solium Nim. Agent Grapes. I was mistaken. For a moment, swept up in emotion, I'd let myself feel a baseless relief. This was no time to feel happy or at ease. I needed to cool my blood. Shit. I couldn't afford to fall out with Director Ho here. Failing my mission and dying in a month. That's a big problem, but even more important was to complete the mission safely and get a wish ticket for myself. But if things went like this, it would be too blatant a betrayal. If I was to carry out Director Ho's mission, I couldn't do it like this. No way. I looked over at Agent Choi. Was it possible he had aimed for this, to completely sever my ties with Director Ho? Grapes. Agent Choi didn't meet my eyes. Instead, still smiling, he drew his cleaver and as checked its edge, he spoke. But on the way back, there's somewhere you need to go, as per Bureau procedures. What? The blade spun smoothly in his hand. You were under a binding spell that the Bureau didn't know about. Since an agent was under some strange binding, we need to examine exactly what happened. That's the protocol, for safety in the quarantine area. What he was holding with the blade now came into view. A small glass orb. Let's go in. It was the same thing I'd seen a few days ago. The portable glass prison. No. What? Thud. Before I could finish speaking, countless hands sprang from the emptiness created by Agent Choi's orb and grabbed me. Agent. SHH. It all happened so suddenly I couldn't even try to resist. I was quickly restrained. If you cooperate with the interrogation, you'll be out in no time. Don't worry. I gritted my teeth and glared at him. Agent Choi blocked the startled Agent Bronze with his blade. He's back to normal enough, he'll be fine. Agent Choi, just what is? Wait. Agent Choi turned to me and spoke softly. Take a break, Grapeseye. I was sucked into the void. And just like that, I was transferred to the glass prison. Chapter 202. An underground location of unknown whereabouts. A dark, iron-walled area, like an emergency shelter within a tunnel. Agent, this way, please. The agent from Black Tortoise Team 1 followed the guide. There were no guards working in the Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau's glass prison. An unknown supernatural power with neither sound nor shape acted as the warden, and one human staff member in shifts would monitor the warden's status. The human custodian asked carefully, Are you here for the interrogation of Agent Gra, rather, 37999? I see, this way. The agent followed the custodian's cautious guidance, avoided the warden, opened the iron door and entered inside. And that place. It was a crystal cave. Countless quartz crystals scattered light in every direction, creating flickering shadows and shapes throughout the cave. Yet strangely, there was no visible light source to explain the reflected light. A spectacle of light and shadow with no origin. Click. The cell is here. The custodian willingly opened a rusty door located in a corner. But there was no human figure inside. Instead, all along the walls, countless glass marbles were stacked, forming a structure that refracted and scattered light. The agent looked at it with dark eyes. Layer upon layer of glass orbs packed the space, forming a conical shape. It almost looked ornamental. But within each individual orb, something could be seen moving. "Oh yes. Let me out, please. You betrayed me. Am I going to die here?" Isolated inmates. Standing in front of them, one could feel like a giant, able to observe each and every being trapped inside a glass orb. A bizarre structure, reminiscent of a panopticon. This was the true nature of the glass prison. A solitary cell made of a single marble. This crystal cave's exact location and method of existence were unknown to anyone except authorized personnel, and a person cannot leave unless the warden personally removes their glass sphere from within. Even if someone managed to break their own orb and escape, it wasn't true freedom. It only meant getting imprisoned in yet another orb. A circular structure, an endless succession of interconnected glass rooms. This is the one at the very top. I heard it was specially requested for a bit more comfort, supposedly, since he's a former agent. The agent's eyes stopped. Exactly the 37th floor, the very top of the pile of glass marbles. A single marble, with its tag, 37,999. Inside the glass marble, a black shadow could be seen, the figure lying as if on the floor, not moving. "I'm rambling. I apologize. Here is the previous interrogation record for 37,999. The agent barely took the file the custodian handed over and began reading. Inmate number 37,999. Inmate Kim Black Square, agent codename Grapes. Affiliation, Black Tortoise Team 1, Dispatch and Rescue Unit, suspended. Originally, the transfer was conducted for the purpose of a routine physical and mental evaluation, which typically requires 24 hours. However, due to unusual circumstances revealed during the initial interview, the subject's return has been delayed. Formal detention is currently under consideration. At the last line, the agent's hand clenched tightly, but soon turned the page. Russell, Day 1. The inmate was transferred to the glass prison as part of standard procedure for screening agents previously subjected to special restrictive bindings. It was confirmed that the binding had already been lifted, executed by Great Tiger General of Diqingbang. A routine interview and physical examination were conducted. Anomalies were detected during the interview process. The inmate voluntarily refused to answer any questions regarding the identity, timing, or nature of the supernatural entity responsible for the binding. Screening procedures halted, process switched to interrogation. Of course, even then, the interrogation wasn't very harsh at first. Why are you refusing to testify? Are you hurt anywhere? Is there any rough estimate of when the binding was placed? What kind of binding was it? Believing the agent was displaying trauma responses after a shocking incident, the interrogators attempted a gradual approach. But there was only one reaction to every question. The inmate categorically refused to answer any and all questions. That was when the people in charge began to realize the gravity of the situation. Suspected of intentionally evading testimony, with prior knowledge of the interrogation effects of the glass prison. Thus, starting from the evening of the second day, the true interrogation of the glass prison began. Interrogation intensity 3. Professional interrogator assigned. Persistent and detailed questions, trap questions, suggestive implications hidden within everyday conversation, even silence becoming an answer. The intensity gradually increased. After 3 days, the glass prison's relentless tactics forced even this steadfastly evasive subject to break under the pressure. Interrogation intensity 7. Inmate's body restrained, head and eyes fixed to make it impossible for him to avert his gaze, silence defined as affirmation. To prevent attempts to evade questions by responding with meaningless exclamations or similar utterances, a gag is applied during questioning. As a result, it became possible to determine clear, yes or no answers from the inmate. Fortunately, interrogation methods involving environmental manipulation or pressure within the cell weren't used. This decision was out of consideration for the inmate's health, though it proved not particularly effective. Day 5. Inmate status poor. The inmate consistently and politely refused recommendations for sleep and food intake. The inmate requested the release of his assigned Dakibai flame from the cell, citing how he felt sorry for its condition. Due to concerns about escape attempts or unexpected incidents, this was denied. However, for emotional stability, a few items favored by the Dakibai were allowed into the cell. The inmate expressed gratitude for these accommodations. Addendum, interrogator's personal opinion. At this point, it appears that another binding may be in effect. It is recommended that the subject be transferred to a specialized examination facility for further ritual or exorcism. However, when asked directly if another binding was present, the inmate surprisingly replied, "No." And the glass prison recognized this as the truth. It is possible that the inmate is under a suggestion, causing him to believe no binding is in effect. Despite this personal assessment, the transfer was put on hold for now. The page turns. The date changes again, and the inmate's condition reveals further deterioration. Day 6. Inmate status poor. Due to concern for the inmate's health, a special meal, mung bean samjietang, was provided. The meal was left untouched through the following day. No interview responses were obtained. A proposal was made to escalate interrogation intensity via the labyrinth of nightmares. However, this was rejected due to strong opposition from field agents. These are the records up to yesterday. And from the next page on, the contents are no longer records but speculation. Conjecture regarding the inmate's true identity. With the stamp, removal from the premises strictly prohibited except by authorized personnel. This information could only be accessed by the current custodian and interrogator. Suspicion of espionage confirmed. The agent clenched his fist. Although the inmate remained completely silent for all interrogations, certain truths confirmed under extreme circumstances allow inference as to which questions he most wished to avoid. Points of suspicion are as follows. Source of information. Purpose for employment at the Disaster Management Bureau. The entity who placed the binding. An unexplained gap period prior to employment. Traces of various forms of contamination. And so this conclusion was reached. But the report did not end there. However, considering the detainee exhibits no ethical disqualifications, has faithfully executed all assigned supernatural disaster response duties, and displays verifiably ethical tendencies, it is suspected that these actions may have been compelled by coercion, threats, or sorcery. Because only limited information can be confirmed by yes-no responses, it is recommended to implement a method to elicit greater cooperation from the inmate. The agent turned the page. It was the last page. A temporary addendum was attached. This was the reason he was here now. Addendum. The agent of Black Tortoise Team 1 who transferred the inmate to the glass prison had strongly requested to serve as an interrogating officer over the past several days, but this was denied due to policy violations. Confirmation has been made of another Black Tortoise Team 1 agent who was present at the original scene, applying to support the interrogation. Approval pending. The preparations are complete, Agent. Ryu Yiquan put down the records. Then for the interrogation, he approached the glass orb. I blinked. A transparent ceiling came into view. The small, hemispherical space around me contained a bed, a desk, a chair, and a few books and meals arranged according to regulation. Beyond that, it looked as if everything was shrouded in mist, but I could tell that the material composing the walls was transparent. So this is what it looks like. The glass prison. Once upon a time, there lived a Dakibai who played a game of Yutnori with Kim Siabeng, and through his skill, won a grand tile-roofed house. But Kim Siabeng, unwilling to lose his home, devised a cunning trick. He accused the Dakibai of using strange magic to cheat at the game, drove him out, and reclaimed the house for himself. The Dakibai was filled with anger. So he created a place where no tricks or deceptions could ever be used, and it was a space no larger than the tip of a thumb, sealed inside a glass bead. Into this bead, he invited Kim Siabeng for a rematch. And so they played Yutnori again. The Dakibai won. He won again and again. He won until everything belonging to Kim Seobeng became the Dakibai's. His house, his fortune, his family, his face, his societal status, his lifespan, and his name. At last, the Dakibai took over the grand tile-roofed house and became Kim Seobeng himself. As a consolation for his vanquished Yutnori opponent, he left behind the cave where he once lived, along with the glass bead. The defeated Kim Seobeng, no, he was no longer Kim Seobeng or anyone at all. The one who became nothing remained in that cave. To this day, the one who is nothing still lingers in the Dakibai's old crystal cave, guarding the glass bead. No one may ever practice trickery or deceit within its bounds ever again. The Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau used this story to build the glass prison system. These mysterious glass marbles, which block all supernatural phenomena, and the warden who guards them. This place, someone said they also mixed in some kind of supernatural phenomenon related to the afterlife and judgment. Whatever the case, it didn't matter. What matters is that, here in this place where I am now confined, only a clean and precise reality can remain. Supernatural entities can exist here, but only in a state of pure existence. Nothing impossible in reality can occur. It's just like reality outside the wiki. Here all items are rendered useless, and tattoos are nothing more than tattoos. Even during the body search, they only took away things like the glass hand cannon that I kept on me. Because the inventory tattoo couldn't be activated, there was nothing else for them to search. But in the same sense, this is also the safest place imaginable. There's no chance I'll suddenly get caught up in a ghost story. Physically, it was just as Agent Choi said, that this was a place where I could rest safely. I'd even heard that some people voluntarily asked to be placed here to escape curses or malevolent energies. However, I still can't sleep. Tension and resignation continued to pulse through my entire body. Just like the past few days of interrogation. The interrogation in the glass prison keeps intensifying. Even though I'm desperately evading the questions, they've already extracted quite a bit of information. I'm sure they've already guessed that I am suspicious, that I might even be a spy. Since it's already like this, they might start using even harsher methods from here on out. The Disaster Management Bureau can become utterly ruthless toward those it deems malefactors. Just remembering a few of their interrogation methods that I already know about makes cold sweat drip down from my temples. Damn it. Maybe Agent Choi was hoping that, with my binding lifted, I'd confess everything from the start. Maybe he wanted me to give up, since I couldn't go back to Director Ho anyway. The problem is, my secrets don't end there. Among the things I know, there are many that can't be explained away as merely being a spy. I don't even know how much I might end up revealing, and if I do, what will happen to me afterward. These are the kinds of secrets I hold. My original world, the dream incubation chamber, all the various contaminations, and even the dark exploration records. If I was going to talk, I should have confessed everything from the start and ended it at the spy level. But then, what about Yeonjun SSI and Hyoun SSI who came in with me? And what about my wish ticket? Back then it was the right choice. But I also know I'll soon reach my limit. I was sinking into lethargy, but I still had to keep my wits about me. Soon the time would come, the nerve-wracking interrogation time full of traps and bait. I swallowed hard, forced down my anxiety, and calmly sorted out in my mind the things I absolutely must not reveal. And then, Diarararake. I heard glass scraping. Beyond the glass wall, a figure approached. The interrogator, appearing with the wall between us. But it wasn't the same person who handled things yesterday. Inmate 37999. The Agent Bronze. Ryu Yikwin stood on the other side of the glass, his eyes somber. Wait a second. Agent Bronze is today's interrogator. The interrogation method had changed. I tensed up, quickly assessing the situation. Agent Bronze didn't avoid my gaze and spoke slowly. Prior to beginning the interrogation, allow me to inform you. You have the freedom to make false statements, but all lies will be transparently revealed. I know. If you make a false statement in the glass prison, the true answer will be projected onto the glass. Only silence can protect you here. Inmate from Daydream. That's why I can't say anything. In this place, lying is no different from telling the truth. But of course my silence must have seemed suspicious too, They might suspect that I already know how this prison works. It's obvious. And that's the truth, too. I would suspect me, too. Gritting my teeth, I directed my gaze at Agent Bronze. So the direction of the interrogation is to bring in someone I know. It's a more lenient approach, but I can't deny it will be effective. We'll begin the interrogation. I gulped. And then, a question I never expected came out. Where is your home? The Goblin notes. Samjiaeng, a traditional Korean soup dish that is primarily made from whole chicken, garlic, rice, jujube, and ginseng. It's considered as a health food. Kim Seobeng, check out the notes from chapter 98.2 here. Yutnori, a traditional Korean game typically played during New Year's. Read more over here. https://n wikipedia.org/wiki/yanori. Chapter 203. Home. Destination. The reason I'm striving for a wish ticket. I had shortened my strong desire to escape from this world and return to my original home into that single phrase. I want to go back home, but only internally. Yet now, this private matter that I never openly spoke about suddenly emerged during interrogation. Where is my home? I deliberately forced my hands to relax so as not to grip the chair. I mustn't lie. Why are you suddenly asking about that? I was told you value your home greatly. Who told him that? Wait. What? I remembered. So what's the wish you're trying to fulfill? I just want to go home. Agent Choi must have told him. I recalled that hellish night when we encountered Director Ho in the taxi, and the conversation with Agent Choi that followed. Home? Had that been judged as unrelated to me being a spy and just personal talk? But even then, why even bother bringing that up in this place? Wasn't it too dangerous? And knowing this didn't change anything for Agent Bronze. I changed the subject. Should I just tell you where I commute from? No, that's not your home, is it? What? Agent Bronze watched me silently. I know you're living in a motel. I've also confirmed that your room has almost no personal belongings, let alone furniture you could call your own. All you have is a few sets of clothes. It felt like the things I'd kept hidden deep inside myself were being exposed. A place like that can't possibly be called home, or rather, you've intentionally left it as such a place. You haven't even applied for the Bureau-provided dormitory for agents either. Why is that? A question I couldn't answer. Agent Grapes. You don't need to answer what I'm about to ask you next. However, please understand this. Agent Bronze spoke without hesitation from beyond the glass wall. This conversation is just between you and me. It's neither recorded nor documented. I'm the only one who will hear it. I raised my head. Our eyes met. Agent Bronze nodded slightly, lowered the documents he was holding, and spoke. I've never had a home from the very beginning. My parents divorced when I was young, and after my mother passed away, I grew up in an orphanage. Wait a second. Even though I ate and slept there, I never really thought of it as home. Rather, whenever I thought of home, I recalled the apartment where I lived with my mother, even though it's more a feeling than an actual memory. Someone's personal history poured into my ears, the past of a person not recorded in the wiki. No, rather, Agent Bronze, the story of someone I knew. Then, while heading to school one day, I encountered a supernatural disaster for the first time and learned about the Disaster Management Bureau. When I asked how I could work there, they smiled. After hearing his circumstances, the Bureau introduced him to a safe, student-appropriate job. A strange bookstore affiliated with them. I worked there and attended night classes. Immediately after finishing university, I took the exam and passed. Agent Bronze looked at me. And now I'm here. Now when I hear the word home, I think of the waiting room of Black Tortoise Team 1. I think of my room in the Bureau dormitory and I see people's faces. That's why I want to ask you this. Agent Bronze asked quietly. Agent Grapes, is your home no longer in this world? Did you originally have one but lost it? I could almost hear the unspoken words that followed. Like me. Unlike my previous interrogations, I wasn't bound. I could freely evade his question. However, yes, it's gone. A spark lit in Agent Bronze's eyes. Is the reason you worked at Daydream, Is it because you wanted to get that home back? It's a bit different. I slowly shaped my words. I want to return to my home. Agent Bronze was silent, seemingly chewing over the meaning of what I had said. But soon, Agent Grapes, a firm statement came back. You cannot return to a place that no longer exists. There will only be those who try to use you by deceiving you into believing you can return. Don't let yourself be used in that way. You are stronger than that. No, I know that's not true. The wish ticket is real. I understand what you're trying to say, but that doesn't apply to my situation. You can create a new home, can't you? Just as I did. I looked at him with a stunned expression, as if I'd just been struck. If you go out from here, meet good people, find a place that feels right to you, and create a place where you can rest comfortably and sleep with peace of mind. Agent Bronze declared, that will become your home. Just as he thinks of the Disaster Management Bureau's main building, its cozy waiting room like a clubroom, as his own home. The advice from someone with experience came across refreshingly clear. And so, I'm not saying you have to be completely convinced of this, Agent Grapes, but I do hope you'll at least consider it. Can you do that? Very slowly, I nodded my head. And the glass wall reflected nothing at all. Truth. A faint smile of relief spread over Agent Bronze's face. Very good, that concludes today's interrogation. I hope you'll get some real rest tonight. I can hardly believe myself. What did I just say I'd consider? But the atmosphere was surprisingly gentle, and my heart felt calmer than expected. As if I hadn't made a bad choice. And Agent Bronze didn't press me for further details about my situation. And please make sure to eat and sleep well. For the next week, I'll be assigned as your interrogator, so there won't be any harsh interrogations. Please don't worry and think of this as a time to rest. He added that he could provide anything I needed, as long as it wasn't a prohibited or dangerous item. There was no sign of falsehood in those words. It didn't look like I'd be thrown into the labyrinth of nightmares anytime soon. Up to now, I'd only eaten the safest foods and barely slept, keeping myself in a state of desperate alertness to avoid falling into any traps during the interrogations. But now, that tension almost melted away in an instant. Just as a wave of fatigue threatened to overtake me. And this is a personal question. A slightly hesitant voice. Do you by any chance resent Agent Choi? Though I would understand if you did. As soon as your binding was lifted, you were abruptly transferred to this prison, and with no discussion with anyone at that. A trace of anger flickered in Agent Bronze's voice, only to be firmly suppressed. Sounds like there was a fight. But not wanting to show it, Agent Bronze changed the subject. Over the past week, it's not that Agent Choi put you here and then deliberately neglected you. He went on to explain that Agent Choi had repeatedly applied to serve as my interrogator in order to talk to me. However, since he was the one who had transferred you here, and because he didn't meet the objectivity requirement when he first applied to be your interrogator, he was blocked. Fortunately, I passed, so today I was thinking about what to say. Agent Bronze bowed his head slightly. Thank you for giving me your answer. I feel somewhat relieved. I'll see you tomorrow then. After reminding me again to take care of my health and get some rest, Agent Bronze disappeared back into the mist beyond the glass wall. I was once again left alone in the glass prison with only the Dakibai flame. But instead of the alertness and tension I felt before, my mind was now engulfed in a dazed blankness, as if I'd been struck. And I turned the recent conversation over and over in my mind. Live here in this world. Give up on going home. He was suggesting I make a new home and settle down here. As an agent of the Disaster Management Bureau. Is this just interrogation bait? But given Agent Bronze's nature, it didn't seem likely he would cooperate with such a deceitful approach. If so, then it must be genuine. There's a prerequisite there, of course. The Disaster Management Bureau has not deemed me a malefactor. And it seemed like they want me to keep working for them. My God. This actually seems better than I expected. If Agent Bronze is the interrogator, maybe I could just confess to being a spy at an appropriate point and bring things to a close. Maybe I could walk out of the glass prison with all my most difficult secrets still kept safe. And maybe I could just work here. To keep living as an agent of the Disaster Management Bureau. To keep working with Black Tortoise Team 1 as I am now, spending time with good people and doing good work. And if things ever get too hard, maybe if I just admit I'm too much of a coward, they'd even transfer me to a different team. In that way, even in this world of ghost stories, I could build a relatively safe and peaceful daily life with good people. There's nothing bad about that, is there? No, it actually feels pretty decent. Building a new home. No. I slapped my thigh hard enough to make a sound. I can't make a mistake and let my exhaustion, physical and mental, make me judge things just for my own comfort. Agent Bronze only made that suggestion because he assumes I lost my home in an accident or disaster. I can't let myself be confused. My home is still there, perfectly fine. It's just that the way back is difficult. It's not like I'm denying reality or obsessing over something impossible. I can do this, I can do this. Besides, the truth is I know. Truly deciding to live in this dark exploration records world is not actually a wise choice. Remember the whole name of that wiki. Prophecy of the Apocalypse, Dark Exploration Records. That's right. I can't stay here long. Because this world from the start. Oh dear. A polite and cheerful male voice. You seem troubled, friend. I jerked upright. A hallucination. Hallucination? Is there such a thing as a hallucination this vivid? Oh, of course, I can certainly understand if you mistook it for one out of missing this bronze so much. Oh, absolutely. That smooth, flowing speech was far too clear to be just my imagination. I hurriedly reached into my coat pocket and pulled it out. A small rabbit plushie. A cold chill crawled down my spine. How is it even talking? Inside this glass prison, all abnormal supernatural phenomena were supposed to be blocked. But supernatural entities are still allowed to exist here. Just like the Dakibai flame clinging to the wall, trembling. So the good friend, as a being present through this vessel, isn't just a talking plushie, but is recognized as a sentient being, as an existence here. That's right, haven't we often chatted even in your everyday life? One can't just write off a close conversation between friends as mere trickery. Oh, Mr. Roe dear, how hurtful. The host's cheerful tone falters for a moment at the end. As if realizing something. Yes, it is a little sad. Friend, it seems you're not happy to see me, even though it's been a week since we talked. I thought you'd be as happy as a child, friend, awaiting his favorite show that only comes on once a week, finally able to watch it at last. Then, this plush doll must have chosen to remain silent for a whole week, as if by some miracle. There you go again, calling me a plush doll. A shiver ran down the back of my neck. No matter. The host of a great talk show, a showman, must be willing to accept any and all nicknames or insults, if that's what the audience chooses, and especially if it's what my very dear friend chooses. The host's voice rings brightly inside the glass orb. It even echoes as if through a microphone. Very well, my friend who's had such a rough and exhausting week deserves a great show. Surprise look-up friend. I stiffly raised my head. Right there on the glass wall where Agent Bronze had been standing. Let me introduce it, How to Escape the Glass Prison. A video began to play. As if on a screen. Isn't this much more admirable than the children's cartoon we promised to watch together? Haha, goodness. Friend, look at you so flustered, everything's fine. Oh, you say it's supernatural. What's so supernatural about watching TV? It's the most natural, everyday thing there is. Now then. Let's watch together. Chapter 204. A video starts playing on the glass wall. Unbelievable, I'm trapped in this bizarre prison. Where could this place be? Aha, this is the Crystal Cave in Black Square City, you say. Thanks, Braun. What? You'll even explain how to get out. Thank you so much. As expected, we're the best of friends. It's a miniature-style classic animation. The main character, dressed exactly like me, and the rabbit doll have a conversation. Strange. Just strange. I turn my head, but there's a video playing there, too. I see. I'm supposed to break the glass marbles around me, kill the other inmates, and use them as bait to lure out the prison guard. The video seems to follow my gaze, moving wherever I turn my head. It's playing on every glass wall. What an easy method. You really are amazing, Braun. The rabbit doll, identical in size to the me in the video, kindly explains how to escape, moving through the space as it demonstrates. How to move through the glass, how to torture the prison guard, even the maps and the escape routes. It calmly explains methods that are shockingly detailed and outrageously vicious. Just like an instructional segment in a children's cartoon. That's right, doesn't it suit your preferences, Mr. Roe dear? It's very immersive, isn't it? Truly quite excellent. The cartoon, which has gone to extremes in its children's art style, shows blood and screams. The prison guards' severed limbs, disaster management bureau staff fleeing for their lives. And it ends with the main character, and the rabbit doll brawn high-fiving each other as they watch. All right, this is how you escape. The final words of the video echo in my ears, and applause sounds. Clap, clap, clap. The crisp sound of gloves striking each other. It was a short but spectacular journey, so what do you think, friend? Are you now ready to escape just as Minibron taught you? The video on the TV is intense, flamboyant, and all the more chilling for its old-fashioned style. It's just the sort of production I should have expected from Braun by now. But I noticed one thing. Oh, don't worry. Like I said, watching TV is just an ordinary, everyday thing, isn't it? No. I looked at the shadow of the rabbit doll. You didn't break the rules of the glass prison that way. Oh, because the video is being played outside the glass prison. It's only being projected into this cell, just like when I was talking to Agent Bronze through the glass wall. That's where you got the idea from, isn't it? That's how it evaded the rules. It's designed to make it feel like it's happening inside the glass prison, for maximum impact. After a short silence, Heaven's correct friend, your keen eye and sharp reasoning would be any magician's nightmare. Such impressive talent. Oh yes indeed, every time I'm so impressed it feels almost wasteful. But that's not what's important right now, is it? I still haven't heard your thoughts about the program. So what do you think? I opened my mouth to speak. I have a question. Oh, a question about how to escape. No, that's not it. What I'm curious about is, how much of my thoughts do you actually know? I know as much as is needed for understanding between friends. Is that so? It was somehow the answer I expected. Ever since the late-night talk show incident, I realized that the host could read quite a lot from inside my mind. Maybe even the stray bits of information I let slip through my thoughts. Maybe even the glass prison escape method I just saw was based on that information. But only until that point, Mr. Roe dear, there's a rather strange nuance in your words. Oh, haha. That must be my imagination. Surely you don't mean that this brawn here doesn't understand my friend well enough. No. A faint, sardonic smile appeared on my lips. You understand exactly as much as you need to. And you're just picking and choosing, based on whatever is most important to you. Entertainment, of course. A cheerful voice rings out. There's nothing more important to an entertainer than that. And this is something you yourself willingly promised, Mr. Roe dear. I distinctly remember you declaring that you entertain me. That's right, but I realized I was a little mistaken. Mistaken? Could you share what you mean by that? I spoke, holding back a sigh. Now I could finally face it. I unconsciously assumed you'd consider my perspective first, before the enjoyment of the show. Honestly, it was a completely unreasonable expectation. I don't even know what I was hoping for from a bizarre talk show host straight out of a ghost story. But after sharing so many secrets and incidents, and even escaping the talk show together by mutual agreement, I guess I developed a kind of vague trust that didn't align with rational judgment. The sense that, somehow, it just feels like you would. I even forgot the logic I always used to persuade him was, for a more entertaining show. That's probably because he helped me out at every crucial moment, and it inevitably led to an emotional bias. Toward that good friend. It was a one-sided trust that had accumulated inferentially. I won't do that anymore. And honestly, even saying this doesn't mean much. I just need to be more careful. But at least this much I can say. You said you felt hurt earlier, right? I felt the same. Heavens! The host let out a sigh. So that's what it was. I did suspect it, but now I understand. Mr. Roe dear, now I see that you were deeply disappointed when I refused to help you a few days ago. Who? Such a misunderstanding. This brawn here only ever wanted to give the very best help to my friend. Now, let's think about this together. The host's voice grows lower. If I had just helped you then, what do you think would have happened? You would have vanished as if by magic. You wouldn't have been able to continue this wonderful spy role of yours, and would have had to just flee, completely out of context. Unbelievable. All the stories you've built up until now would have ended in such a hollow and abrupt way. Is there a more futile conclusion than that? Is that really what you wanted, Mr. Rowe, dear? Of course not. That's... At that moment, the Dakibai flame that had been stuck to the wall drifted over to me. Huh? What is it? I gently picked it up in one hand. The Dakibai flame, as if summoning courage, stretched itself toward the rabbit doll and made a gesture. A thumbs down. Then it probably buried its head into my side and hid. Oh dear. Don't be angry, it's kind of fun, right? So you have to endure it. Sorry, but isn't this similar to what you said yourself? It felt a little crazy to do this so openly, but somehow it brought me some relief. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I'm not saying your actions were wrong. The host's reaction was just as I expected. I won't be disappointed from now on. I'll just be content knowing I have someone I can talk to, someone who might, just by chance, help me. Friend, you don't trust what I say. Very well, misunderstandings always accompany any relationship. I suppose that's also my share to bear. There were a few sounds of disgruntled footsteps, but soon they faded away. That was a bit surprising. I didn't think he'd hold back. Is it because there's something more important ahead? Right now, there's something more urgent than an argument between friends. It's not pleasant to see you wasting any more time trapped in this narrow, stifling place. Escape. Do you feel ready now? I got up from my spot. A small glass orb, a circular solitary cell comes into view. And by now, the escape method from the video was etched into my mind. Now, strangely enough, I know how to escape from this notorious glass prison by causing a horrific disturbance. If I did as shown, it would become an irregular incident worthy of being recorded in the dark exploration records. But, no, I considered it, and I came to a decision. I would choose the best method available to me right now. You're not seriously planning to just undergo the interrogation, are you? Actually, yes, I am. I sat back down in my chair. I'm going to go through with the interrogation, all of it. Agent Choi lowered his head. Inmate number 37999. Inmate Kim Black Square, agent codename Grapes. Affiliation, Black Tortoise Team 1, Dispatch and Rescue Unit, suspended. He held the updated interrogation records for the inmate in his hands. Each page he turned showed the miserable week of interrogations. Refusal to testify, deteriorating health, increasingly extreme forms of questioning. But after that painful stretch, a change began to appear. Like this. Day 8. Inmate status poor, recovering. After the previous day's interrogation, a significant change was observed in the inmate's attitude. Non-cooperative behaviors, such as intentionally causing auditory or visual disturbances to avoid hearing questions or maintaining persistent silence during interrogation, were markedly reduced. Time spent sleeping and eating increased to levels similar to the recommended amount. The inmate was also observed caring for his Dakibai flame or checking on his doll, self-identified as a friend. It is presumed that these changes resulted from the appointment of a new interrogator, with whom the inmate is personally acquainted. It started from the time Ryu Yikwin arrived. Officer's personal note: the inmate appears to be regaining stability. Rather than increasing the intensity of interrogation, it is likely more effective to encourage a natural confession through continued interaction. The majority of relevant personnel concurred with this assessment without objection. And so the pages accumulate. Day 9. Inmate status poor, recovering. Special meal, galbatang, permitted. The interrogator brought the same menu and ate together with the inmate during questioning. The inmate earnestly participated in Q&A. He acknowledged that the traces of contamination originated from separate supernatural disasters experienced prior to his work, the Disaster Management Bureau. The inmate, confined in the glass prison, began to talk about more and more things, and there are hints everywhere that the interrogator and inmate had deeper conversations. Personal stories, character, affection for the Bureau, fear of supernatural disasters, even the relief and sense of reward felt when rescuing civilians. Several days pass like that. Eventually, it reaches this point. Day 12. The inmate testifies that he previously worked for Black Inc. He affirms that there was external pressure involved in the process of applying to the Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau, and that there was a separate objective he had to achieve while employed. However, it is established as fact that a binding as powerful as a death curse was placed on him, that there was no intention to harm the Bureau, and that during his employment, no actual harm ever came to the Bureau as a result of the inmate's actions. It is confirmed that the inmate wishes to continue working, regardless of his initial reasons for joining. The interrogator reports this testimony to the higher authorities. The agent, whose hands had begun to tremble slightly, composed himself and turned the next page. The final page. Day 13. Inmate status good. And testimony secured during interrogation was verified for credibility. Release of 37,999, agent codename, Grapes, from confinement and reinstatement of agent status approved. Scheduled for release tomorrow. And that tomorrow is today. Tech. Agent Choi closed the file. A mix of tension and relief crossed his tired face. He'll be coming out soon. Yes. Stop pacing. I should. But even so, Agent Choi continued to pace back and forth in the waiting room. Because his plans for the future were already taking clear, concrete shape in his mind. This isn't the end. Since it was all but officially recognized that he had been a spy, he might have to go through quite a difficult process. But that was a matter of gratitude and discipline given to agents. Kim Solium would undergo the relevant investigation as a member of Black Tortoise Team 1. Then I'll be able to help somehow. That was what mattered. Now the being in charge of the glass prison would retrieve the glass marble in which Agent Grapes had been confined, lift the binding, and then transfer him into their custody. Before the disciplinary process, there would need to be a proper conversation about Daydream Inc., as well as the secrets, items, and abilities he had been hiding. But that can be done gradually. The important thing was that the interrogation process had ended well, and that Kim Solium had regained stability. It had been a long way around, but it was a success. Agent Choi finally let out a sigh of relief. The nerve-wracking past 2 weeks had come to an end. He had no idea how many different methods he had tried to reach this conclusion. And then, Yiquina. Thank you, you worked hard. Agent Bronze, who was sitting across from him, gave a small nod. His attitude was blunt, but Agent Choi could read a gentle gesture of reconciliation within it, and he simply gazed quietly at his junior. A smile returned to Agent Choi's face. Feelings of apology and gratitude mingled together. First, the three of us should go to the hot springs. Seriously, I'll pay for everything we do there. Yes. It was as he was patting Ryu Yiquin on the back. Knock, knock. The door opened and the custodian appeared. The detention has been lifted. Then, yes, Agent Grapes is waiting in the lounge right now. Thank you. Agent Choi hurriedly shook hands with the custodian, then quickly made his way forward. W8. He already knew where the lounge was. Without hesitation, Agent Choi entered the cave and headed for the iron door with the nameplate near the entrance. He should be inside. Kim Solium. He still had no idea where to start the conversation. Honestly, he still didn't know the whole truth. What on earth was that? That bizarre laboratory and the appearance of the supernatural entity, too. But what he could be sure of was that, on the night the binding was placed, Kim Solium had tried to save him. Risking his life. So he thought, I can start learning from now on. Without hesitation, Agent Choi swung the iron door open, and there was no one inside. The lounge was completely empty. There was no trace of anyone. As if there had never been anyone there at all. Agent Choi stood frozen for a moment, then looked around the lounge again. On top of a steel chair, only something stark white remained, unnaturally out of place. A single, neatly folded piece of paper. On the front, just one word was written. Resignation. Agent Choi picked it up. Small objects tumbled out onto the floor, round candies, stick-shaped syringes. They looked like mere odds and ends, but each was probably an item. He stood frozen for a moment, then unfolded the folded paper. Handwritten, pressed-down letters appeared. Hello, agents. I want to sincerely apologize for everything that's happened so far. I am truly sorry. Thus began Agent Grapes' letter. Chapter 205. The letter was calm and composed. I am writing this to talk about the things I never had a chance to mention. It felt like a note left behind by someone who was only going away for a while. Kim Solium talked about the spare glasses left on the sofa in Black Tortoise Team 1's lounge, the flat rear tire of a bicycle in front of HQ, and the printer ink that was still in delivery. For a handover, these were small and fragmented details. There was a lingering sense of regret that seemed about to surface, but then vanished in the next paragraph. Yet the letter's nonchalant tone maintained its course, and before you realized it, it would transition into meaningful advice, easy to overlook but significant nonetheless. Things no new agent at the Disaster Management Bureau could possibly know. Advice about supernatural disasters. It will no longer be safe to wear silk clothing in the pressing section of the coin laundry at the intersection, starting from after the rescue of the civilian in the blue dress. Please make sure that no agent goes in wearing it, just in case. These were the ghost stories that Black Tortoise Team 1 had faced. It sounded as if he'd figured it out by deduction, but strangely, the words had the certainty of someone who had known all along. But it was clear the advice was written out of concern and care. With trembling eyes, they skimmed quickly over the contents. And I'm sorry again. The letter turned more personal. The events of the night the binding was cast were written in extremely circumspect terms, in a way only those directly involved could decipher, as if taking care not to expose anyone who might still be under a binding. Next came gratitude and apologies directed toward Agent Bronze, who had given him room to speak the unvarnished truth without pressing him. And then, I still want to go home. As a farewell, I can't just give up without even trying to return. But I feel heavy-hearted, because it seems like my feelings have only ended up wasting the time of the Disaster Management Bureau's agents. Once again, I'm sorry, for not living up to expectations, for not sincerely submitting to the disciplinary action, and for resigning as if running away. I know it's an inconvenience, but I've enclosed some items I found useful. I hope they'll be of use to Black Tortoise Team 1. A detailed description of the functions and effects of the items he left behind was included. And lastly, just in case I'll mention it, there's nothing significant about what I wrote on the whiteboard in Black Tortoise Team 1's lounge. I thought you might hesitate to erase it, wondering if it was a hint or a marker, so I wanted to let you know you can erase it without worry. It was something I left on impulse. It doesn't mean anything. The letter ended. The agent hastily flipped the pages front and back. And on the last page in small writing, "Thank you for everything. I hope you stay healthy and happy." The two people reading the letter dropped their gazes to the items scattered on the floor. Then one bent down and slowly picked up one of those seemingly trivial things. It looked like cheap candy, but it was an item that could turn back time briefly to the good old days and restore one's condition. It was a tool that would be invaluable to the dispatch and rescue unit. The little things glinted on the floor. Agent Choi raised his head. The subdued eyes of the two Black Tortoise Team 1 agents met each other. If he had just vanished, there was a good chance he hadn't yet left this place. "Wait, agents." They dashed out of the lounge with the flustered custodian in tow. "To search the crystal cave." And, Kim Solium, who had been standing absolutely still in the corner of the room, quietly walked out behind them, holding nothing but a single sheet of paper. Through the door the agents had opened to enter this room. What an elegant and courteous exit. This method isn't bad either. I quietly looked at the sunlight pouring down. So I really made it out. I did my best to end things safely and smoothly, but honestly I'm not sure. I don't know how the Disaster Management Bureau will take it, or how Black Tortoise Team 1 will feel. Earlier, I deliberately walked faster so I wouldn't be tempted to recall the faces of the agents I just passed by. After exiting the crystal cave and walking to the bus stop, and all the way onto the high-speed train, I didn't forget to thank the host for dimming the spotlight for me the entire time. Oh, think nothing of it. Thanks to that, I was able to slip out as quietly as this. If he hadn't helped, I would have had to escape in a much more complicated and emotionally exhausting way. The train will be departing shortly. I tried not to think about it. How thoroughly they might have searched the crystal cave after I escaped. How they would handle the items I left behind. How suspicious the Disaster Management Bureau would be of me. Whether Black Tortoise Team 1 would erase what I wrote on the lounge whiteboard. Instead, I tried to sleep. Fortunately, the high-speed train heading up to Seoul didn't invoke the horrors of the Tamra line, and I managed to doze off for a while before waking up. And just in case I was being tracked, I paid in cash and checked into any random motel. Thud. It was only after I closed the door behind me that I was able to calm down and start taking stock of things. That's when a sense of reality finally returned. Did I really leave almost everything behind? I only have 1 or 2 consumable items left. Especially the ones purchased from the Space Shopping Mall, which guaranteed safety. I left most of those behind. Probably because I won't be needing them anymore. It makes more sense for people who face more danger than I do to use them. All I have left are a few equipment items and my tattoos. However, pop, a small light popped out from inside my clothes. The Docubuy flame. Are you really going to keep following me like this? The flame bobs up and down vigorously, as if in agreement. This little guy followed me all the way up to Seoul. It even left behind the glass lantern it used to inhabit. I'd worried about being tracked, so this was less troublesome in a way, but... Everyone must be worried. Aren't you part of the Bureau? The Docubuy flame sparkled in defiance. It says it's all grown up now, so it'll be fine. Heavens, what a stubborn and foolish creature this is. Who? According to Braun's reluctant interpretation, it's slow, but it can recharge itself even when alone. Apparently, it could recover faster if it absorbed the energy of a mystical lightning bolt, but that might be hard to come by. At any rate, the Docubuy flame's intentions seemed firm. Then I'll be counting on you a little while longer. The flame happily flickered as it zipped around the motel room. To be honest, it wasn't just troublesome. At least I still have one thing left. A trace that I once belonged somewhere. Proof of the days I spent with good people, that's what it is. Let me hold on to it just a bit longer. It won't last long anyway. I patted the Docubuy flame once, then let it settle into my right arm as it transformed. Now you're free again, Mr. Roe dear. You can go anywhere you want, so where will you go? Strictly speaking, isn't it actually the opposite? I'd consider myself lucky as long as the Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau wasn't hunting me down as a wanted man. Daydream Inc. had already listed me as dead for a long time now. There were only a few places I could go or contact. And Agent Choi even found out about the Cheerful Research Institute's Dream Incubation Chamber. Even if the binding prevents me from telling the Bureau about that chamber, he himself can always come looking for it. I'll have to make preparations, but I need to be careful. But it wasn't as if I'd escaped without a plan. I do have one. Indeed. The problem is, it's an extremely uncomfortable plan. I turned on the phone I had stored inside my tattoo. Messages that had been left unattended for 2 weeks appeared. It's a relief I didn't slip up during the interrogation. If I had, Yeonjun SSI or Hyeun SC's identities could have been exposed. I shoved my phone into my tattoo as soon as I got caught in Jisan Village, and since the tattoo lost its function inside the glass prison, it was actually a relief. I let out a sigh of relief and scrolled through the messages. Most were advertising texts, but among them, there were also several messages from acquaintances. Excuse me. Are you okay? Let me K&W when you get this. Excuse me. If you're sick. If there's a problem, contact me. It was the sergeant. Somehow I felt strange. With this person, it feels like I've always just been on the receiving end of worry and help. Come to think of it, I haven't been in touch since the binding. After some thought, I replied, Sorry, I had something come up. I'm okay now. Then, after hesitating, I sent another one. Thank you again for looking into that information for me. Would it be possible to talk tomorrow or the day after? Let's get something good to eat too. Confirmation was quick, but the reply came slowly. Okay. That's enough for now. Now it was time to take care of my business. I picked my next destination. I wasn't keen on it, but there wasn't a better option. And, I was already prepared. Please prepare the wish ticket. I've found the information you requested. To Director Ho. Solium Nim, you're back. I looked up. At the familiar table in the Fox Counseling office's waiting area, Director Ho was sitting there, smiling. My stomach churned reflexively. A sense of resistance at the act of making this choice. A strange feeling of guilt, as if I were betraying the people who'd even released my binding. And at the same time, it was a contradictory feeling. Now that the binding was gone, I could finally negotiate in a way that felt like a real negotiation. I've come to collect my wish ticket. One moment, please. There's something I'd like to say first. Director Ho, still wearing a gentle smile, hesitated a little awkwardly as he spoke. That made my skin crawl even more. I think the binding regarding your death was a bit excessive on my part, Solium Nim. Looking back, it seems I made a rather emotional decision because of the situation. I'm a bit embarrassed about it. It's a good thing that it's gone now, though, don't you agree? I recalled the strange shamanic ritual led by the great tiger general of Diqingbang, and Director Ho's bizarre reaction at the time when possessing assistant manager Yoon Hae's body. Even if I'm worried or curious about the assistant manager, I won't ask. If Director Ho noticed me showing concern or recognition, it would probably harm assistant manager Yoon Hae instead. My insides twisted. Instead of nodding along easily to Director Ho's words, I answered carefully. It doesn't matter. A promise is a promise, regardless of the binding. I came here to fulfill my promise to you, Director. Really, but that should be impossible. You don't even know exactly which annihilation-sanctioned disaster I requested, Solium Nim. That's right. Director Ho had said he'd give me more details if a spies managed to access the secret archives under Gangwon Province. But, I know. I could already guess what Director Ho was after. I tracked it down through deduction. Just tell me the name of the disaster. If the information I brought doesn't match, I'll accept the penalty. For Director Ho, there was no risk. He could impose a penalty or another binding as he wished. Either way, the situation had changed. I no longer had any agent allies to lift a binding for me. So, all right. I knew it. Director Ho smiled and laced his fingers together. The name of that supernatural disaster is Sekwang Special City. Oh, and don't try to utter the name outside the Fox Counseling office. Bad things will happen. Director Ho looked into my eyes. So, does it match the information you brought? I did not avert my gaze. Yes. Here it is. Thud. A document was placed on the table in the waiting area of the Fox Counseling office. This is the report regarding the annihilation-sanctioned supernatural disaster you just mentioned, Director. Please check it. Director Ho reached out, picked up the paper, and began to read. And then, he covered the paper. Director Ho stared at me, his expression now wiped blank. How did you find out? So it was correct. That's not important. The truth is, it's not that I found it out. I already knew. That's right. This was why I'd been so confident I could bring the information within a month. It was because I already knew. The fastest and surest method. To simply write down the information from the dark exploration records. It was a method I'd set aside because there was no way to convince or explain it to other spies, and because I was afraid Director Ho might become suspicious and do something terrible to me. I wanted to do it as safely as possible. But with the whole situation in ruins, there was only one option left. I had no choice but to move quickly. If I delayed any longer, the Disaster Management Bureau would start checking for and rooting out other spies. If Yeonjun SSI or Hyeoun SSI got caught, they'd never be able to receive a wish ticket and would suffer doubly, bound by Director Ho's binding. Before that could happen, I had to act first. However, I'm certain you were still imprisoned in the glass prison until yesterday, so how could you have found this? They don't store this kind of information in there. He's right. Naturally, the crystal cave that stores the glass prison doesn't keep valuable information inside. Occasionally, reports on supernatural disasters based on what is obtained from prisoners are written for updates. But there are a few bureau-issued report forms lying around for that purpose. Like this, for example, a blank Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau Disaster Report Form. Since it's written inside the glass prison, of which the location was generally unknown, it comes in a format where the branch information is automatically redacted for censorship. So, it's the most suitable paper to print out documents about annihilation-sanctioned disasters kept in the secret archives. Ironically, being imprisoned in the glass prison became my chance to obtain exactly what I needed. Thus, I was able to present to Director Ho the Sekwang Special City document I'd crafted myself, based on what I'd read in the wiki. But there's absolutely no need to explain any of this to Director Ho. It would only be dangerous. I did bring my own last line of defense, just in case. Cold sweat beaded on my back. Still, I had to say it. The important thing is that I brought the promised intel, and I received help from the other two people during this process, without a doubt. Now, Director, it's your turn to keep your promise. A smile spread across Director Ho's face. Very well. Congratulations, Soliumnim, as for the collection of your wish ticket. I clenched my fist tightly. Chapter 206. The Wish Ticket. In this world of ghost stories, where bizarre bad endings appear everywhere, this is the most certain way for me to return home. For this alone, I endured at Daydream Inc., and endured even becoming a spy. And now, at last, with the conditions met to claim my wish ticket, Director Ho in front of me is lightly clapping his hands. As if applauding me. Clap, clap, clap. I'm genuinely happy to see you finally receive your wish ticket. But haven't you ever thought about this? The clapping stops. What if Director Ho never intended to give you the wish ticket in the first place? Even if you did exactly as you promised, Soliumnim, I could just change my words. Tell you to do something else, offer the ticket as bait again and again. Just endlessly string you along like that. Director Ho smiled gently. Have you really never thought about that? I have. You'd be a fool not to. How often in society does someone avoid paying after you finish the work, or delay it, or just never pay at all? Conversely, how many times does someone take payment in advance and never do the job right? And in this situation, the wish ticket was Director Ho's one-sided promise. And a promise from someone in a position of power can be broken at any time. There's no penalty for breaking it. But I also know that you, Director, take promises very seriously. The bindings. Director Ho was a type of supernatural entity who bound others by the form of a promise. Yes, it would be foolish to think of Director Ho as human at this point. And for supernatural entities, rules are a crucial element. From a semantic perspective on ghost stories, rules exist to foster a context of uncanny fear and to dangle hope as a kind of torment for the victim. In any case, that's why the rules are actually more trustworthy than if Director Ho were simply a malicious human. There's a much higher chance that he'll have no choice but to keep his promises. All the more so when I recall how Director Ho would assert, almost unnaturally, about the trustworthiness of the counselor of the Fox Counseling Office. Even if he uses people while hiding other motives or sets traps, he never makes false promises. I looked at the expressionless Director Ho. So I judged that any promise you made yourself, you would absolutely keep. Clap. Of course. Director Ho laughed as he clapped his hands. I always keep my promises. I never make a promise I can't keep absolutely. Now then. Director Ho lifted a briefcase from beneath the table and reached into it. It's time to receive your wish ticket. And something radiant came out. A small glass vial. The waiting area of the Fox Counseling Office. In this comfortable place, an enchanting, otherworldly glow, like an aurora, began to shimmer. It was hard to believe that such overwhelming mystery could come from a single small bottle. The wish ticket. It's yours, Soliumnim. Tak. Go ahead. I reached out my hand, just as my arm was about to touch the wish ticket set on the table. Ah, wait a moment. Director Ho smiled. It's not just one bottle, is it? Tag. Still smiling, Director Ho took 2 more dazzling glass vials, shimmering with pearly light, out of the briefcase and placed them on the table. 3 vials of wish ticket potions in total. Holy shit. On the table, waves of light reminiscent of pearls of the Orient glowed, rippling like the Milky Way galaxy. These are? Yes, these are wish tickets for the other 2 employees who worked with you. You said it yourself, didn't you? That the other 2 also contributed sufficiently to this assignment. That's right. But he's just handing them over like this. And Director Ho wasn't finished. But since you came as the representative of the team to deliver the report, it's only right for you to receive them as the representative. Wait a second. You mean I'm to receive all 3 bottles, and then give 1 each to the other 2 people? Well, who knows? You reported on behalf of the team, didn't you? Then isn't distribution up to the representative? I don't mind either way. A dark flame flickered in Director Ho's eyes. But in the next instant, as if nothing had happened, his face returned to a gentle smile. I truly hope this wish ticket fulfills the wish hidden deep in your heart, Solium Nim. I spoke. Aren't you going to use 1, Director? Director Ho looked at me for a moment. That's an item only regular employees can use. Unfortunately, executives are considered contract workers. That's the rule. Director Ho's hand reached out as if he wanted to touch the wish tickets on the table, but soon withdrew. So, will you take them now, or later? Either is fine with me. Whether to accept all 3 bottles, or to leave them all for now. In truth, I only had 1 choice I could make. Yes, I'll take them. I nodded. And then, excellent. With a bright smile, Director Ho took a box out of the briefcase and began packing the wish ticket bottles 1 by 1, tying them with a ribbon and placing them into a bag, as efficiently and neatly as a salesperson. Instructions for use are included in the box. I'll put 1 bottle in each compartment. Director Ho tidied up the box with swift, practiced motions, closed it with a ribbon, slipped it into a bag, and slid it across the table to me. Here you are. Thank you. I picked up the bag. For a moment, I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. I did it. It was finally starting to feel real, that I had finally gotten my hands on it. It's here in this black paper bag. I got my wish ticket. Get home safely, Solium Nim. I'll be in touch. My mind felt blank. I rose from my seat. After politely bowing to Director Ho, who was waving, I left the waiting area of the Fox counseling office. Creak. I thought I heard the sound of the door to the Fox counseling office opening and closing behind me, as if someone had entered. And when I glanced back from the entrance, there was no one left at the waiting area table. All that remained were the 3 bottles of wish tickets in my hand. Oh, congratulations, friend. Now do you just make a wish and blow out a candle? It would be nice if it were that simple, but the problem is, I have 2 extra bottles in my hands. A little while later, at a nearby cafe. How am I going to hand these over? I sat down, clutching the bag, my mind racing frantically. It felt like walking around with checks worth millions stuffed carelessly in my bag. Every time I was conscious of the wish tickets inside, I was seized by the impulse to take them out and drink 1 immediately, but first I had to finish what needed to be done. First, I need to contact Go Yonjun SSI. All I needed was to come up with some indirect way to deliver the item. Then that colleague could fulfill her wish and resign safely. She wouldn't have to enter any more ghost stories. And, I can save Jang Ho-un SSI too. If someone just wished for Jang Ho-un to be saved using a wish ticket, that would be enough. Everything was perfect. Once that's done, once I've finished distributing them, I'm going home. My heart pounded with anxiety and anticipation. I put my hand in the bag, touching the box, running through in my mind what I needed to do first. First, find a safe place. Bzzz. My smartphone vibrated and a message popped up. Today, where should I go? The sergeant. We had planned to meet at sunset today. It was supposed to be to get information. But now, I no longer needed the information. Whether it was the Cheerful Research Institute or the source of Daydream Inc., Once I left this place, none of it would matter anymore. However, leaving this ghost story world, it also meant I would never see anyone I'd met here again. After some hesitation, I sent a message. I'd like to meet here. And that evening, I met the sergeant at a corner table in a well-known donut shop that closed late. I had already paid for some donuts, ones that were usually sold out by evening since people bought them all during the day. Seeing the donuts, the sergeant's tired face brightened a bit. Thank you. No, it's nothing. I've received a lot of help from you. Honestly, this isn't enough to repay you, but... No, it's more than enough. The sergeant, looking a little happier, eagerly started eating the donuts. And then, as if it were nothing, he dropped a bombshell. So about that information, the Cheerful Research Institute, it's still in our company's basement. Wait a second. What do you mean by that? Exactly what I said, The sergeant looked at me. I actually saw you there once too. Me? MMH, when we first met. That thing when you got sucked into the scroll, you went to the restroom on basement level too. Don't you remember? I do. When I went down to the basement to track down the missing section chief Lee Byung-jin. Strangely enough, the hallway was lined with ordinary offices back there. Shouldn't this floor have safety equipment or facilities? I distinctly remember thinking that. And, Mr. Rowe, dear. That's right. Suddenly, the good friend could speak to me. That strange daydream basement, lined with endless offices, was actually a ghost story. And that ghost story, in fact, was the Cheerful Research Institute. How did you find out? We also only knew it by code name. I don't know, but I found some documents that weren't redacted. The sergeant shrugged his shoulders and continued. Anyway, if you go deeper underground, the same office corridors just keep repeating. You mean exactly the same corridor? Yes, the exact same offices, same layout. Even the scratches are the same, so it's definitely the same place, but the time seems to shift, I think. Voices of people chatting, silhouettes of people in meetings, staff gathering things, people fighting, even offices filled with dust like ruins. Every time you take the elevator down, the scenes change as if you're playing a hidden picture game. Endlessly. How many floors underground are there? I'm not sure, The farthest I went was basement 23, I think. If I try further than that, I just get blocked. I'm not sure, but I think there was someone from the security team that went up to basement 40. But they died, so, It was a chilling description. Those offices. A chill ran down my spine. Why on earth is the Cheerful Research Institute there? Why is it a ghost story, and what is Daydream Inc., which built its building above that, really doing? All sorts of questions flashed through my mind. But I soon realized none of it mattered anymore. Because I would be leaving. And it seemed the sergeant sensed it too. So I guess you don't need this anymore. He pulled his cap down low. Well, if that's the case. Then, easily guessing the most likely reason a Daydream employee would lose all interest in everything. Did you get a wish ticket? I hesitated for a moment, but eventually nodded. A faint smile appeared on the sergeant's lips. A pure, sincere congratulations. That's good news. You know how to use it, right? Yes. The sergeant nodded along with my answer, then seemed to hesitate a bit before asking. Then this time, are you really quitting? It was a question he could only ask because he knew I wasn't truly quitting, but just working undercover under Director Ho. I nodded. I see. The sergeant bowed his head. After you quit, would it be possible to talk now and then? I wish I could do that too. But I can't. I avoided his gaze. Depending on the nature of my wish, I don't know what will happen. The sergeant stopped speaking. A world-changing wish. Yes. In that case, there's nothing to be done. He must have already known. Right, as the squad leader of the elite team, it makes sense that the more obsessed the field investigation team members are with the wish ticket, the more likely it is they'd know its true nature. The essence of the wish ticket. You want a tip on how to use it. There isn't one, you just drink it and make your wish. Everything will be granted. At least from your perspective. Advice from the assistant manager of the elite team's C squad. So this is how it works. If the drinker wishes to become younger, they'll become younger. If they wish for a clean, tax-free 10 billion won to be deposited in their account, it will happen. The wish ticket potion displays powers no different from a magical genie's lamp, changing only the state of the drinker. But what if the wish is on a much larger scale? Wishes that go beyond simply changing one's own personal circumstances. Let's say, for example, the time is set in the past. A wish like, I wish I could go back to when I was a child, living happily with my parents. Or, I wish I could go back to the moment when my husband got into the car accident and stop him. Or perhaps much grander. I want the world to end. Or I wish everyone would become kind. Or I want a superconductor to be invented, and so on. Wishes that desire to change the world itself. Of course, even in these cases, the potion still works. Your wish will come true, however. It only comes true from your point of view. In other words, you will be sent to such a world. The wish ticket is a highly personal potion. Its effects are omnipotent, but only for one person. The one who makes the wish disappears from this world. Sometimes they remain, but that only happens if they didn't wish properly, made a mistake, or if the wish was unexpectedly small-scale enough for the wish ticket to handle. At any rate, in no case does the wish ticket bring about massive changes to this world. Only the person moves. That's why the sergeant knew. If the wish is big enough to change the world, he knew that I might leave this place entirely. That I might disappear. I looked at the sergeant, who had finished eating his donuts. Time was running out. Truly, thank you very much for everything. Yeah. We stood up from our seats. I handed the sergeant a box of donuts I'd asked the counter to pack to go, along with a leftover paper bag containing only a bread knife. By the way, JSSI, what kind of wish did you join this company for? The sergeant stared into the empty bag. I can't really remember. Don't worry about it, it wasn't anything important. I couldn't bring myself to ask any more. In the end, I nodded and parted ways with the sergeant in front of the donut shop. He waved his hand. Take care. That was the end. Through the shadows, I saw that the sergeant stood alone on the street for quite a while. On the way back, I thought to myself, I should say a few more goodbyes. Chapter 207. Oh right, just send those to the team leader's desk, Agent Mint. Yes. Go Yeonjun carried the bundle of documents he had just organized over to her superior's desk. It was information on the newly observed supernatural disaster. She briefly reflected on how the term disaster had now become more familiar to her than darkness. Phew. Go Yeonjun sat down at her own desk. Then she could faintly hear the idle chatter of the other agents, sharing the office from the hallway. So that's what happened. Black Tortoise Team won. But honestly, if I were that rookie, I think I'd have done the same. Her nerves instantly went on edge. Just from that, she could tell who they were talking about. For nearly 2 weeks, agents at the Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau had been careful about bringing it up, but it was still the main topic of conversation. Agent Grapes, her fellow spy, whispers of Kim Solium's imprisonment, release, and subsequent disappearance. That's right. Go Yeonjun's colleague had failed in his spy mission and had gone missing. Maybe it was a relief he hadn't been caught. Given the circumstances, it seemed something had happened when Director Ho's binding was exposed, but with the hush-hush atmosphere it was hard to ask. She'd heard that things had gotten serious during the imprisonment, but then improved again. And that even after the disappearance, the mood toward Kim Solium among the field agents wasn't that bad. News from Black Tortoise Team 1 had dwindled significantly. That much was all that Go Yeonjun, as a rookie agent, could know for certain. Of course, it was difficult to find out anything more after Kim Solium had disappeared almost as soon as he got out of the glass prison. He really ran away, didn't he? Go Yeonjun would worry herself into a state of nerves, but always ended her thoughts with a sigh. She couldn't risk leaking information while trying to track down Solium's whereabouts. If Kim Solium had managed to escape successfully, poking around would likely only cause trouble, and there was the risk her own identity might be exposed as well. It was bad for both of them. Given she was somewhat acquainted with Kim Solium, and that they were both rookies, there was even more chance she was being monitored for security reasons. Feels like I'm under suspicion as a spy, too. She didn't know. The Disaster Management Bureau staff were certainly good people, but they were also skilled at pretending to be nonchalant while probing or zeroing in on key issues as if it was nothing. Well, they are agents after all. In any case, unlike her nerves-racked state as a spy walking on thin ice, there was no noticeable change in the other agents' attitudes. She hadn't been dragged off to the glass prison herself, at least. That's a relief, but honestly, it felt hopeless. Of the 3 who'd come in, 1 was quarantined due to contamination, and 1 other had gone missing. Only she was left, but for a rookie to steal a document on an annihilation-sanctioned disaster was realistically close to impossible. If she were Director Ho, she'd have cut her losses by now. But I have to hang on. And she had to do her job. Go Yeonjun forced herself to stay calm and calculated things to avoid panicking. Calmly, 1 at a time. First, she needed to clean up any traces more thoroughly. She'd only ever contacted Kim Solium through a separate phone line, registered under a different name. She decided she had to take care of that, too. So that evening, when she returned to her officetale after work, she searched for the spare phone. Rather than hiding it meticulously, she just tossed it in a drawer with other old junk like her previous phone. That way, it would be easier to overlook. And the moment she turned it on, spam messages, which she deliberately invited by giving out this number everywhere, poured in. Even contact from Director Ho disguised, as counseling offers looked like spam at first glance. Who? Go Yeonjun began clicking through and deleting the spam 1 by 1. Don't just sit there serenely, please disembark now. At this stop, special discount Gangnam Station. Her hand froze. Wait a second. Serenely disembark this stop. She couldn't help but remember, like being struck by lightning. The subway of Abyssal Transpo. This was a hint only someone who'd shared that insane onboarding ghost story would recognize. And at this moment, there was only 1 person who would send such a message disguised as spam. Only 1. Go Yeonjun immediately clicked on the message. Don't just sit there serenely, please disembark now. At this stop, special discount Gangnam Station discount phone sales, only until 21:00 on the 17th at the left counter, unsubscribe. A location and a time. Go Yeonjun quickly searched the internet. She looked up the discount phone store near Gangnam Station. And an hour later, Go Yeonjun found herself standing in front of a storage locker near the discount phone store at Gangnam Station. At first, she wondered if she was supposed to meet at the storefront, but even after the designated time of 21:00 passed, no one appeared. Then, when she focused on the left counter mentioned in the text, she immediately noticed a passage leading to the storage lockers on the left side of the store. Is it here? She hesitated for a moment, then looked at the lockers. There was locker number 17. The number specified in the message. If so, when she entered the code, the same number sequence from the message, 1721, into the combination lock. Beep, beep, beep. The locker opened. Go Yeonjun hurriedly grabbed the card used to pay the locker fee and looked inside. There was a small paper envelope. A memo was attached, written in awkward, unfamiliar handwriting on purpose, the letters crooked. Please open this at home. Go Yeonjun quickly took the envelope and went home. Her heart was pounding. What is this? Given the circumstances, it was almost certain that the person who left this was Kim Solium. But what on earth was being passed on? Had the method of exchanging information for the spy work changed to something like this? With these swirling thoughts, Go Yeonjun opened the envelope at her dining table. 2 boxes. There was a black box. Feeling puzzled, she opened one of the boxes. A dazzling, multicolored light shone out. The Daydream Inc. employee quickly shut the box in alarm. Wish ticket. That crazy potion with the holographic aurora-like glow. There was no doubt it was a wish ticket. Kim Solium SSI. Did he actually complete the spy mission by himself and bring back wish tickets? No, but how? Is this real? Is it really real? There's a wish ticket in a subway locker, wait. There are 2 boxes. Her heart pounded in her chest. She reached for the other box and opened it. Once again, brilliant light spilled out. Oh my God. And then a small note fluttered down. She quickly picked it up. Yeonjun SSI. Our work is finished. Do as you wish. You don't need to come back. She was so shocked her mind went blank. But the note wasn't finished yet. P.S. If possible, please deliver the other box to its intended recipient. If not, please keep it safe until then. No way. How could someone just hand over 2 bottles of wish ticket potions with only a note like this, as if it wouldn't matter if she just took both for herself? But even as she thought this, that kind, clever spy knew that she would keep her word. A swirl of gratitude, obligation, joy, and pressure spun in her mind. So, Go Yeonjun made up her mind about something else. And grabbing something, she ran out of her house. It was delivered safely. I looked at the empty bottom of my drink at the cafe. This was a cafe in the underground shopping mall at Gangnam Station. It had already been an hour and a half since I watched Go Yeonjun pick up the phone from the subway locker. Nothing unusual had happened in the meantime, so I figured it was about time to leave. That should do it. If it's Go Yeonjun, she'll return the wish ticket to its rightful owner without pocketing it for herself. And since she's still working at the Disaster Management Bureau, she'll have more chances to deliver it than I would. She also seems better suited for the Disaster Management Bureau. Now that the spy mission itself was over, she could continue working there if she wanted to. Fortunately, there hadn't been any tailing by Bureau agents. It seemed things had wrapped up well. Now there was only 1 wish ticket potion left for me. Then, once I drink it too, just as I thought that, I saw a familiar figure run back toward the lockers. It's Go Yeonjun SSI. Did something go wrong? But she calmly reopened locker 17, the one that had held the wish tickets, put something inside, and shut it tight again as if nothing had happened. What did she put in the locker? Don't tell me she put back Jang Ho-eun's wish ticket. That's possible. If I were her, I'd also have trouble carrying out a request to deliver a wish ticket to someone who's been isolated and who knows when he'll be seen again. Yeah, it was an unreasonable request in the first place. After making sure Go Yeonjun was completely gone and there was no tailing, I quietly left the cafe and headed to the locker. I opened locker 17. Just as I expected, there was a box inside. It can't be helped. I picked it up. But oddly, the weight was different. I quickly went into the restroom, carefully opened the box inside a stall. But instead of that iridescent glow, a soft green glimmer appeared. The light green hue of a new sprout. It was a C-grade regeneration potion. I stared at it in a daze. Inside the box was a note attached, just like the one I had written. I'll try my very best. Thank you. Take care. An indescribable feeling welled up inside me. She must have barely bought 1 bottle with her points. She gave it to me probably thinking that, because I had lost my arm and had now left the Disaster Management Bureau, getting access to a Dakibai flame as a prosthetic would be difficult now. Thank you. I carefully packed up the box and held it close. That night, I drank the regeneration potion, and with my now restored hand, I left my farewells. Scheduled messages. Set for the next morning. To my former superiors in the D-Squad, and a few people to whom I owed debts of gratitude. Let's send one more to the sergeant, too. Mostly to say not to worry, that I'd managed to resign safely. Writing a text to Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun during this process made me break out in a cold sweat. That monthly installment plan at the alien shop. I'm really sorry. I had to run away in the night just after starting the payment plan. Instead, I put all the equipment I had into a subway locker and sent Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun the location and password. I hope this will cover it. With that, everything was finally settled. All that remained was the Dakibai flame. I raised my regenerated arm to the small blue flame that had been circling me, watching what I did with interest. It's okay now, see, I've got my arm back, you can go home. But the Dakibai flame flickered as if refusing, and sat down in front of my desk. It was a bit troublesome, but it didn't feel bad. Then let's stay together just a little longer. If I disappear, you go back to the bureau, okay? The Dakibai flame drooped a little, as if nodding. Now there was truly only one thing left. The last. I took out the small, fluffy, pink rabbit plush doll. Taking a breath, I set the good friend doll at the foot of the bed, shining the lamp to cast its shadow. So that we could speak even in the real world. Oh, friend. The talk show host's cheerful voice. By now, I was used to that captivating tone and smooth delivery. Tonight's hotel is not bad at all. This small, cozy space reminds me of the room you used to stay in, Mr. Rowe, dear. Is this the night you celebrate your wish coming true? Something like that. No need to save money anymore. And, friend, are you okay? About what? I mean about me using the wish ticket. A question that had weighed on my mind, but I'd been afraid to ask in case the answer was too much to handle. You know what my wish is. The host already knows. If he can see into my thoughts and knowledge to any degree, he would have realized, at least by the time I was talking with the sergeant, that my wish was to leave this world. But you never asked. I continued, looking at the plush doll's big shadow. It felt strange. Oh, I wondered if maybe you were thinking that I'll fail, and that you're now just waiting quietly for catharsis. Heavens! Once again, friend, I do not wish for your failure. I simply do not intervene inappropriately and ruin the flow and scene. And as for now, a sound like tapping gloves. It's such a clear situation, there's no need for questions. You want to go home, don't you, friend? But you refuse this bronze offer to introduce you to a better new home. A chill ran down my spine. But the host's tone remained calm and cheerful. So as a host, it's only right to watch and see where your choice takes this show. Do as you wish, friend. You've worked so hard for this, now it's time to see the result. The rabbit doll's shadow flickered, as if pointing at something with a hand. The wish ticket potion on the table. Let's go to the finale and ending. I picked up the wish ticket. Chapter 208, Part 1 Finale. The iridescent potion ripples in my hand. The color of dream essence. A potion that grants wishes. The instructions are engraved in relief on the transparent glass bottle, and whenever the liquid inside shimmers like waves, the words are revealed. I looked into it. Daydream potion. Wish. Ex miraculous. Lift the bottle with both hands. Express your heartfelt wish in a single sentence. With your eyes closed, drink all the liquid in the bottle at once. Any wish will come true. I had already known about these instructions since before, so I had agonized over it from the beginning. What sentence should I use? When using the wish ticket, in what single sentence would I express my wish? Every time I lay awake in bed unable to sleep, every time I wrote an exploration report at the office, every time I barely survived a ghost story and walked home after work, I thought about it. The very first thing that came to mind was that. The primal desire. Please send me home. It was a desperate plea. But I put it on hold. Home is too abstract a concept. It's not as if there was only one place I'd lived until now. I couldn't tell by what standard the wish ticket would activate. If I phrased it wrong, it might even send me to the Daydream Inc.'s company dorm. Even when I was infiltrating the Disaster Management Bureau, the aversion that made me avoid the concept of home and move from motel to motel likely stemmed from this. So I thought again. I had to eliminate every possible loophole. I can't make a mistake. I absolutely must not let the wish ticket grant my wish in some unintended way. Please send me back to where I originally lived. That's just as abstract, rejected. Please send me to a world without ghost stories. There's no guarantee that'll be the world I was originally from. What if I died and went to heaven? That would technically be a world without ghost stories. Some insane interpretation like that might happen. I rejected options again and again, and chose with the utmost caution. A perfect sentence that could designate time and space precisely. And I decided. Clutching the potion tightly in both hands, I opened my mouth and spoke. My wish is, right away, to return to where I was the day before I joined Daydream Inc. To the world I originally lived in, at the point before I spun the roulette at the pop-up store. It was the perfect fit. Excellent. It's done. Hearing the host's admiration, I calmly opened the cap of the wish ticket potion. A burst of light erupted, but I covered it with my hand and closed my eyes. Then I poured the potion into my mouth. A dream that you drank. That was the only way I could describe it. A strange, synesthetic liquid, like nothing I had ever experienced, slid down my throat. Radiance filled my stomach. An intangible power, transcendent authority, overwhelming mystery. Ecstasy and awe led me forward. Yes, I am moving. Holy. My whole body was being sucked away somewhere. Very deep, very far. To wherever my wish reached. It felt like I was traveling to fulfill a long-cherished desire. Transcendent power was transporting me. Yes. Yes. Just like this, I'm going to return safely to my home. Cough. I collapsed to the floor. My body rolled across a dusty, filthy floor, and I coughed. Musty air. Even when I opened my eyes, there was only pitch blackness. Even blinking, I couldn't make out any contours. Silence. Stillness. What is this? The fantastic sensation was gone. The wish ticket had vanished, which meant this was my destination. The blood drained from my head. I felt numb. I struggled, twisting myself off the floor. Sharp fragments scraped my arms and hands, leaving a stinging pain. Gasping for breath, I lifted the empty bottle I was still holding in one hand. The last few drops of the wish ticket liquid faintly shimmered. My surroundings became visible. I was on top of shattered glass. When I turned my head, I saw where I had fallen. An empty glass tube was shattered. I had collapsed onto the broken glass shards in a dust pit. Why? How did I end up inside this place? My heart thudded uneasily. Before the ominous feeling could take over my mind, I desperately tried to make out the silhouette of the device in the darkness. It looked like a device for storing large volumes of liquid, but the machine was familiar. There were no lights, and below the empty glass tube I saw buttons and a keyboard panel. An old lab machine straight out of the 2000s. That's the Dream Incubator. A broken, shattered dream incubator from Cheerful Research Institute. Blankly, I looked around. My eyes, now accustomed to the darkness, used the leftover shimmer from the wish ticket to finally make out my surroundings. This is Cheerful Research Institute's prototype dream incubation chamber. Something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong. Why did I end up here? No. Calm down, calm down. I definitely wish to be returned to where I was the day before I joined, so why am I here? Wait, no, it's not. This isn't the same place. It's different. Yes, the lab had the same structure, but it wasn't the same. The silhouette was strangely different. Other machines and documents were visible, even cassette tapes and empty reagent bottles, and computers, too. There's no dust on the computers. Strange. I staggered and turned my head. I needed a hint, any hint. And then I found it. An experiment log. Soaked in blood and filth, all records meticulously erased. Only the phrase "we fell for it" frantically repeated. It was there, right next to the shattered glass tube of the dream incubator. Just like how I had found it last time in the dream incubation chamber. I walked closer. The old paper wasn't soaked with blood and filth this time, but was browned as if scorched. With trembling hands, I turned the pages. There were charred spots, but I could read them. From the very first page's title, Iram Nim Invitation Research. I drew in a breath. Research objective, verification for existence. Incarnation and contract of an external entity into the present world. The subtitle of this research took the name of a god worshipped by a certain cult group that had recently emerged, stemming from prior research. This would be Cheerful Research Institute's final project. My heart pounded with dread. I flipped the pages frantically. Countless experiment records filled the pages. Because none of this was registered in any database, the format was inconsistent, and there were several experimenters. All sorts of attempts and preparations. Failure, Dream Incubator 21 discarded. Failure. Horrible materials of unknown nature and extreme methods, half erased, remained. Things that were created, summoned, then discarded. And then, success. Some meaningful result was achieved. Experiment 316. Essence volume 1200L. Materials: Kuturwe Force, Dragon, 326 human blood, and 13 other synthetic elements. Successfully awakened Irem Nims, mined within the glass tube. Contract failed, form collapsed within the essence. Suspected cause: insufficient essence. Will adjust variables based on this research. And then it became more refined. Experiment 322. Essence volume, 2300 L. The awakened Irem Nim screamed inside the glass tube while in after, lost all vital signs. After recognizing the mutation of its own bodily tissue, it rejected the combined materials, resulting in lumped collapse. A request was made to adjust the material ratios to prepare a medium more closely reflecting Irem Nim's exact appearance. Currently confirming darknesses related to shapeshifting. My hands shook. Ominous speculations swirled through my mind. The experiments continued, the conditions becoming more and more specific. The currently confirmed requirements for invitation and contract are as follows. 1. Preservation of Irem Nim's original identity. 2. Erasure of previous emotional attachments. 3. Provision of a survival goal. 4. Removal of all sense of incongruity. It is believed that these requirements can be fulfilled through a powerful binding, and various methods are currently being proposed. And then, an existing invention from Cheerful Research Institute is mentioned. It is now a discontinued invention, designed to partially imbue a doll with the presence of a being from the reverse world, so that it may serve a supportive role to the contractor. A limited version is currently distributed as a souvenir in a certain board game, and that thing, product is called Good Friend. I barely managed to turn the next page. The final experiment record. Experiment 444. Essence volume, 39,999 L. Materials, same as 443. Result: success. Utilizing the ritual used in the discontinued invention, Irem Nim was successfully and fully invited. Have been imbued, stabilized. As soon as the subject awakens, it will be separated from the dream essence, and a simple interview will be conducted. The page ends there. But, when I turned the last page, I saw a torn sheet of paper wedged in. It looked like it had been crushed and balled up in a hurry. Then someone else had carefully smoothed it out and put it back in the experiment log. And scrawled over it was more writing. The previously neat handwriting was now completely destroyed. Daydream found out. They burst in. It was another trick. Before Irem Nim could be taken, I spirited them away and hid them in the place with the most humans. Please. The writing abruptly and unnaturally ends there. And under the words place with the most humans, someone had underlined it heavily and, in a different hand, written another note. New employee orientation. As if deducing from the note. It can't be. My mind rejected it. But the conclusion was already clear. No, there wasn't even anything left to guess. It was too obvious. In answer to my wish, please send me back to where I was the day before I joined Daydream Inc. I had awakened inside this shattered dream incubator. So that means I was the research subject of this experiment log. The good friend. Something synthesized, an entity from the reverse world invited by Cheerful Research Institute, imbued within. Just like the host Braun projected into the plush toy. The consciousness of Kim Solium, existing in another world, projected into something created in the dream incubator. Is that it? No. No, it can't. There must be some other explanation. What did it say about the binding up above? I don't qualify for that. I want to go home. I need to return to my house to meet my family and friends. That's why. Who exactly are those people? I can't remember. I was sure back when I first joined that I remembered. Didn't I recall the conversations with my parents and friends? And didn't I look up contact info, check addresses, search through my records and... Did I actually do that? Or did I just think to myself, I checked and let it go? What exact contacts did I look up? Which previous address did I visit? I don't know. I can't remember. There's only this conviction that I did. So does that mean? This body I inhabit isn't Kim Solium. If the place I was before joining was this place, If I've returned to the place this body was, if I was made in the dream incubation chamber, then am I not human? No. I look down at my hands. No. No. ENOU. My body starts to bulge grotesquely. The tattoo collapses. I disappear. The human body falls apart. The self that has realized the truth rejects the shape of a human body. The body tries to revert to its original form. Something unknown, sacred and bizarre, synthesized, bursts forth from within me. Scales and horns, hooves, spikes all pierce through my ribs. No. My voice rings strangely through the space, but there is nothing I can do. I've already disposed of all my items. My tattoo is completely empty. N.O. At that moment, I realized it. There is still one thing left inside the tattoo. Equipment that's not mine, something I borrowed. I hastily shoved my mutating hand into my tattoo and pulled out the equipment. The security team suit. And I started to put it on like a madman. My mutating body is forced and jammed back into a human form, held in place. Strange noises ring out as black smoke envelops my whole body. In that way, I barely manage to regain human limbs. I have to run away. Staggering, I search for the door to the lab. Yellow lamp-like eyes flashed. The light found the doorknob. Leaning on it, I barely manage to push it open and step out. There are indoor lights. A normal office hallway. A scene I had seen before. Daydream's basement. The sergeant had told me about Cheerful Research Institute being in the company's underground. The Cheerful Research Institute, it's still in our company's basement. If you go deeper underground, the same office corridors just keep repeating. What floor underground is this exactly? How do I get out? Elevator. My head and body feel heavy. A strange, intense pain sweeps over my entire body. Dragging my feet, I tried to make my way somehow to the end of the corridor. Just then, excellent. You have strong company loyalty to think you'd come back. I raised my head. Someone in a suit was now standing in front of me, staring straight at me. An ageless impression, cold and immaculate appearance, a perfectly fitted 3-button suit, dark blue hair. Managing Director Chung Dali. Already wearing the uniform, are you? Looking good. Black pupils stared at me. But that's not the proper uniform. I opened my mouth. But no words came out. It felt as if my vocal cords were crumpled up inside the suit. The mad, suffocating sensation grew stronger, more painful. Yes, that seems to be a uniform that makes a human look like a monster. Is this a new version that's been developed? But when a real monster wears it, it's just a mold that forcibly stuffs the body in. As you know, there are a lot of programs in society whose efficacy only works when there's a contract. That's how it is. She declared thus, "At this rate, you'll soon necrotize. If you don't like that, there is another path." Executive Director Chung Dali took out a neat sheet of paper from inside her jacket. "A contract. You just need to sign. I promise you the most humane treatment. You'll have a satisfying position in the security team, that is." Blood started to flow from my body. Blood dripped down my fingers. Here. Choose. I feel like I'm going to die. My collapsing body is being crushed, and so is my consciousness. I can't even stumble forward anymore. I don't have the strength to even think of any other options. A dead end. I lifted my trembling hand. And with the blood streaming down, I signed the contract. Good. The moment the signing was complete, my body rapidly began to feel at ease. As if I were wearing perfectly fitting clothes, as if I had fulfilled a promise, as if just the right amount of water had been poured into a cup. A sense of peace and unfamiliar power spread through my whole body. And more than anything, a clear binding. I looked at my superior. From now on, you'll be entrusted with a very important position. And just like that, I started working for the company once again. End of part I.